Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a great weekend so far, and I hope y'all have had a great Sunday. We got you an update on what is now Tropical Storm Nicholas. You can see it right in the middle of your screen. This is forecast to still maintain tropical storm force winds and potentially strengthen into a strong tropical storm. And there's an outside potential it can make it to a low-end Category 1 hurricane. So we're going to break all this down for you because it is looking increasingly likely that there's going to be a major flooding event. And yes, this includes the big city of Houston. So you guys in the south, basically the entire coastal areas of Texas, need to pay attention to this. And there's going to be an isolated, smaller area that is going to get feet of rain potentially with Nicholas, as there's going to be just a small pocket with Tropical Storm Nicholas that is going to unload a ton of water on some people. So that is definitely the flooding part of this is what we're going to talk about the most. But this does have a chance to become a low-end hurricane. But right now, it's forecast to at the most be a 65-mile-per-hour storm. So we're going to break down Nicholas because this looks to be the next major weather event here in the next 48 hours. As it begins to interact with Texas and areas of Louisiana. So as you can see right now, it's in the middle of your screen. First off, if you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button, like the video. Your support is definitely appreciated. I make content every single day and try to double up my videos, especially when there's something major about to occur. So I'll look to do that tomorrow too. I'll double up my videos. So thank y'all for tuning in. I've had a lot of growth over the weekend. It's all thanks to y'all for supporting me. So thank y'all. I just want to add that. So hit the subscribe button definitely if you have not done so yet. So right now we got Nicholas. We got an upper level low that's flowing in right here. This is providing some shear on the western side of the storm. This is limiting this storm in the short term from really exploding. Right now it's in over some of the warmest waters in the entire world. But there's so much shear interacting with basically the entire western half of the storm that it's really unable to really gain any decent rapid intensification. One thing here in the short term is you see this flow wrapping around Nicholas. Well, it has a nice outflow to it, some favorable upper level winds or favorable upper level environment as far as winds aloft. So there is that, but that is going to quickly go away here in the near future as it continues to move north generally and interacts with even more shear, as there really looks like there's some directional flows that are different in different areas of the atmosphere. We're going to break that down. So this looks to be a big-time flooding event. So let's get a little bit closer to this event. I do want to mention I'm not going to talk much about any of the other tropical systems right now because those are a little bit further down the road, and this is the most important one. But here you go. The center of the storm is elongated, if you will. It's broad. There's not much of a center. Recon mission is actually flying in. Basically, hurricane hunters are actually flying into this storm right now to try to figure out how strong this thing is. But when I just checked just now, there really weren't finding any big-time winds in this so far, but it is a tropical storm for sure. So I believe the center of the storm is probably right in here somewhere, but you notice on the entire northeast to eastern side of the storm, this is a ton of moisture and convection blowing up here where the favorable part of the system is. Everywhere on the western side of the storm is really getting sheared hard. That's why the storm cannot really strengthen in the short term big time, or really just can't strengthen. I mean, the life of the storm before it makes impact to land is only here in the next 24 to 48 hours. So it's not like it has a ton of time to get any kind of act together, if you will. So we look at the latest update from the Hurricane Center. Let me upgrade this panel and see if we got an 8 p.m. update, and we do. So right now we had a 40-mile-per-hour storm still, pressure of 1008 millibars. So Tropical Storm Nicholas here. Yes, I know you see in these other areas, but we're not going to really talk about this much. I will mention that this one right here has dropped some. Guidance has definitely went away from any kind of system developing off the southeast coast later this weekend. But we'll talk more about this when the time is right. But we really need to figure this one out because this is going to affect millions of people and really have a big-time flooding potential. Tropical storm warnings extend all the way from northern coastal areas of Mexico all the way through Brownsville, Texas, all the way up to basically just south of Houston. And then tropical storm watches are up for areas of basically Houston into Galveston. There's also a little slither of a hurricane warning right here. that's up because there is the potential this could become a hurricane. You barely can probably see it on your screen, but the blue is kind of outlined on the outside of this with pink. That indicates a hurricane watch. But this right now is forecast to make landfall as a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm as early as maybe sometime tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. Going forward here, some spaghetti models here. They really are zoned into the southeast, or the southwest, if you will, basically the southern areas of the coastal areas of Texas. I'll tell you one thing, this has actually trended a little further throughout the last probably 24 hours. It's trended a little further west, which indicates probably a weaker storm, but it also indicates more flooding. So this was showing the storm kind of wanting to go out here, and it still can. But now it's forecast. It looks like it might be getting influenced a little bit more by that ridge of high pressure to its east out here. And we'll talk about all those steering currents in this video. So stay with me, guys. Stay with me for sure. But this is the National Weather Service indicating just south of Houston, feet of rain, over a foot of rain. These little pink areas, that is over 15 inches of rain just outside of Houston. And these little pockets here, and this in the reds, that's anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain here in the coastal areas just south of Houston and around the Houston area. And even you guys in Lake Charles and into Louisiana, y'all could get anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain. This is a major flooding event. We've seen it before in this area. Right now, you have a moderate chance of flash flooding here in the next 3 days, including Houston, even Lake Charles, and the entire area, Galveston Bay, and all these areas in between. This is a serious situation. The flooding looks to be the biggest story. But just like with any tropical system, you have definitely a threat of some decent surge, especially where the core, basically the middle part of the storm, comes ashore and just east, where you actually have the winds wrapping from this direction. There's definitely going to be some surge. But I don't think that's going to be a huge story. But with any tropical system, you have surge. One thing I want to show you guys, and every time I try to pull up Twitter, it glitches on me, but it worked out this time. Hopefully this comes in clear. This is the National Weather Service out of Houston. These are the experts, the real deal here. And it has a zoned in area of Houston. Houston's right here. They're predicting as much as, I believe that's 8 to 10 inches for Houston of rain. Just south of Houston, you're in the 15 to 20 inches of rain area. Galveston, that includes you, Angleton, and any of these areas. You're going to get a ton of rain. There's going to be a decently sharp cutoff, like for instance, College Station, you might get only a few inches of rain. But the reason is because the center of the storm is going to come in south of here. But the core of the moisture, it might be only a few hundred miles wide. But there is going to be an area of this storm where it's going to absolutely unload on as far as rain. And I'm talking a couple inches of rain an hour at least. And a lot of rain is going to fall fast, and this could turn to a dangerous situation. You look at the latest GFS, it does well showing the storm. It's down here at the bottom of your screen. You notice right around, 2 a.m., midnight or so into Tuesday morning. Notice how the center of the storm's here, but look right here. There's no real action on the west side, the northwest side of the storm. It's because it's getting decoupled, getting hit hard by some shear. Dry air is getting entrained into the circulation of Nicholas, and most of the heaviest rain is at the center to just east of the center of the storm. I mean, you see this area of pink showing up. You don't see that in even some kind of hurricanes here as far as reflectivity on showing us is predicted on how heavy the rain is going to fall. And if this ticks a little bit more east, Houston is going to get clobbered with a ton of rain. One thing I want to show you is we'll look at the HDORF model here, the HWRF model. One thing, it kind of shows the worst case scenario, but I will mention that it's initiating weaker than this. So it's initiating wrong. So you go in here in the future, it has this rapidly intensifying and making landfall as almost a low-end hurricane southwest of Houston, more southwest down the coastal areas of Texas. This has a full-fledged, maybe a low-end Category 1 hurricane making landfall and really thrashing the Houston area and surrounding areas with a ton of heavy rain, and then it whips in and hits Louisiana hard too. Worst case scenario there, but I don't think that's going to happen right now. because that might change in the morning. My thinking on that might change in the morning because I don't think it's initializing right at all. It's actually initializing a lot weaker than what it's showing. Now we look at the GFS is a little bit more realistic, initializing a little bit stronger than what it is. But it comes ashore as a 990, 995 low pressure tropical storm, which is about kind of what the National Hurricane Center is thinking as far as strength. Comes ashore in overnight hours on the Monday into Tuesday. You notice all the heaviest rains to the east side of the storm. This does a good job showing this. We back it up here in the short term. There's a nice little moisture plume around the storm. That anticyclonic flow kind of helps to ventilate and moisturize the storm, if you will, and creates a nice ventilation for the storm. But this is only going to last for as much as 6 to 18 hours, maybe, if that. And it's going to be kind of right before landfall. Then when it's getting really close to landfall, it hits this dry air and shear big time. And all the moisture gets, all the convection, the moisture is definitely just shifts to the east, if it ever is to the north or northwest or west. But all of it is going to be on the east side of the storm. So I know I keep saying that a million times, but keep in mind, if the track isn't necessarily going right over your house, and we'll flip back to this really quick. If it's not going right over your house, Houston's right here, right? National Hurricane Center has this thing making landfall well west of Houston. And this is Houston. Do not look at the track and say, oh, well, this storm's not going to hit us. That's not what it means. Most of the action is going to be on the east side of the storm. That's why they're predicting Louisiana to get all this rain that they're predicting. So this is going to just have a very small area of extreme, what we call precipitation values exceeding over 2.5 inches. And that means that basically when you get under a storm, whether it's a tropical downpour, then it absolutely unloads a ton of rain. That's a simpler way to explain it. I was mentioning this storm ventilating. When the short term, we back it up here, we're getting into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, I think, will be a period of this storm as we get into tomorrow morning where it'll have time to undergo some moderate strengthening. Maybe not rapid intensification, but it will begin to gradually strengthen as it approaches Texas. And then you get into tomorrow afternoon, it quickly loses that good environment as it starts to interact with the shear right here. Kind of the same thing that was helping it starts to basically not help it, if you will. And it gets influenced by currents aloft. The 200 millibars here aloft, way up in the upper areas of the atmosphere. It's starting to get pushed and almost shredded apart here and decoupled, if you will. And at the same time, you look at this, you look at the ridging of high pressure, you have a flow coming out the southeast, if you can say here, and then out of the south, which is pushing this storm to the north. So at the same time, at 700 millibars here, for example, which is lower, which is not as high up in the atmosphere, if you were confused by that. 200 millibars is much higher. 700 millibars is not as high. So you basically have what we call shear. And you have two areas of wind speeds or winds going in two different directions. So that causes shear. And that's why you have shear on the north and northwest part of the storm. It's kind of the same thing that promotes tornadoes in the spring. When you have two different directional flows up in two areas of the atmosphere, it goes kind of like this, right? So it causes a spin. Well, for tropical systems, they don't like that. They don't like that at all. That's what we call shear. And it really kind of shreds these storms apart and decouples them, if you will. So there's going to be two different wind speeds at two different areas of the atmosphere kind of going in two different directions, if you will, which is ultimately why this storm cannot undergo any kind of rapid intensification. So here you go. I want to show you two models here. This is the latest GFS. Notice the latest GFS does show a lot of rain. It pinpoints this area just outside of Houston and just west of Houston. If it goes the current track that this is showing, it shows the possibility of this area in yellowish or orange, which is 9 to 12 inches of rain, over a foot of rain. Now you look at the Euro from the day. Now this is definitely hype right here, but I'm going to show it to you that lets you know the differences on and the confusion on how much potential rain we can get. The Euro went absolutely bananas this afternoon, showing 2 feet of rain for areas, and it's showing most of the rain falling just well west of Houston, so it's a lot more west. I don't think that this is going to happen. Do I think there's going to be areas that get over a foot of rain? I do. I really do, and it's going to fall fast. So that's all I got. I'll have you update in the morning if I can manage time. It's a little bit harder taking both the girls to school now, but I definitely want to keep y'all updated here in Texas, especially Houston. It's one of the largest cities in America. So thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all of y'all. Stay safe. Prepare if you're in Texas, because it's going to be a big-time rain event for sure, at least. And the outside chance this could become Hurricane Nicholas. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for the support. Y'all have a blessed night.